He is Matthew. Welcome to the show. Matthew, can I just confirm there's no way we ate 76 bacon sarnies in 2 events?
I certainly didn't, that's for sure. I have to ask a separate Ian Pepper and Ethan. Ethan's a growing lad, so maybe he might have had 76 bacon sarnies.
Matthew, look, thanks for joining us today. First of all, I asked every guest this question. Are you ready for Christmas?
Yeah, just about. I think I've got a couple more Amazon orders coming in. Just waiting for some posts, and then at some point I'll have to sit down and wrap all the presents. And yeah, it's although it's going to be quite a small affair this year. We're just literally real close family. I think it might just be 4 of us, whereas normally there'd be a good dozen or so. So yeah, I say looking forward to a break, but it's just going to be another couple of days and carry on, I think.
I was going to say there's no such thing as a break, is there? And I do know for a fact you live not too far from me, and we've just entered Tier 3, haven't we? Actually, tomorrow we enter Tier 3. So yes, it's going to be a very small Christmas, I think.
Yeah, it sure will be.
Right, let's get on to the year, shall we? Let's get on to the Faldo series. It's been a pleasure. First of all, we attended 2 events with you, didn't we? The Wales Championship and the South of England Boys Championship as well. How's it been for you, Matthew? It's been, we know it's an unprecedented year, but the Faldo series still happened, didn't it?
Yeah, we were. Well, I say we semi-lucked out in terms of our timings. I mean, we had to postpone a couple of events at the beginning of the year, obviously through Easter holidays. But then really, as the whole country was kind of in lockdown, we didn't have any tournaments planned anyway because of the kids would normally be at school. So July and August was our heavy schedule. And actually, as it happened, yeah, timings were kind of worked in our favor. Golf was almost one of the only sports that was allowed that we could do. So yeah, we as I said, we lucked out a little bit from that perspective, that we didn't have to change anything from a July and August scheduling perspective. In fact, as it turned out, I don't know if you mentioned, but we actually had to add an event because the demand was so high. I guess everybody not being able to travel or leave the country was to our benefit, really. So yeah, a interesting and different year, but we managed to make it work and have double our entries. So yeah, it worked out.
It was some year. I've got a couple of pictures just to show you actually as well. Let's have a look at a couple of images from the Wales Championship. How hot was this day, by the way? It was absolutely roasting, wasn't it? Although naturally I managed to wear a little gilet there. I did go and get changed. Look.
Yeah.
There we go.
Finally kick you out. I seem to remember we were matching that day, so it must have been something good.
I was just about to say, you're not in this picture, but you were probably just behind me in this picture here, because this was at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And yeah, we had exactly the same trousers on, obviously the same polo, the same hat on, and the same shoes pretty much, didn't we? It was pure fluke.
Yeah. Yeah. Great minds think alike, I think.
Absolutely. Look, we're going to touch on 2021 in a bit, but look, let's just look back at the history of the Faldo series. In 1996, it got underway, didn't it? Can you just tell us some of the names who have played on the Faldo series throughout that history?
Yeah, so to start with, I think our dad's first protege was Nick Doherty. So that was Big Nick and Little Nick. That was sort of in the late 90s. Then you had sort of James Heath, Zane Scotland, Sam Osborne, people like that. And kind of that created the initial Team Faldo, as it were then. Then kind of through the noughties, we saw the likes of Rory McIlroy, Ollie Fisher, Ben Evans, Carly Booth, Henny Brockway at the time, Henny Zul now. Although I think she just got married again, so that's another change. Mel Reid, plenty of names that came through all then, and then I joined in about 2010, and since then we've sort of seen the likes of Jordan Smith, Stephen Brown, Jackson Bra, actually even them going back sort of a little bit before then was Eddie Pepperell, Tom Lewis, Matt Wallace. Now we got Adrian Otaegi, and most recently, actually, Adrian Moronk. So that was a really great story for us to bring us sort of right to nowadays. That we first went to Poland in about 2010, and Adrian came to Lochern, one of our grand finals that time, and now to be one of the first sort of leading Polish golfers on the European tour, and very nearly got a victory. It's it's great, and we'll be here all day if I had to list them off. But yeah, we're very fortunate to have a great alumni list of people that have played in the Faldo series.
Am I right in thinking? I really hope my research is right here. I was going to look a right for here. Caitlin Patt. Recent US Women's Open Low Amateur. I mean, congratulations! By the way, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, Caitlin and Megan Kang as well. Megan was actually our first girl champion in the history of the series when we took the grand final to the Green Bar in 2013. I think it was 13 or 14. Caitlin joined us as well because at that time we did some work with the PGA of America. Caitlin won her age category. Obviously, Megan won as well, but they came over to China as obviously the European winners get to go to our Asia Grand Final. And then Caitlin also represented Team Faldo in what was then the Friendship Cup, which has now become our Major Champions Invitational. So, yeah, we've had a little bit of a history with Caitlin, and it's, great to see her like progress. I mean, when she was playing with us, she had just committed to go to Texas. So now she's, I think, probably coming to the end of her college days, and I'm sure she'll be looking at the professional ranks very soon.
I'm sure she will. Let's talk progression then from Faldo. Obviously, you can see it's pretty obvious that you've got a major chance of making it big time if you have success on the Faldo series. We know the age categories, isn't there? For the boys, it's under 16, under 18, and under 21. Once you finish the under 21 category, what happens then? What path do golfers tend to take from there?
Well, nowadays we're seeing a lot more people going off to college in America, whether it's scholarships and things like that. So that gives them another 3-4 years of really strong competitive golf throughout the year, whether they're playing obviously at college, and then throughout the summers they can play competition. So they kind of, I say, don't disappear, but obviously they head off to college for a couple of years, so we don't see them then. Or there's other players that if they're in UK, Europe, or Asian, they're playing Asian Development Tour, Europe, Euro Pro, Challenge Tour. Obviously, we still have qualifying school in Europe. So that's kind of really where the next steps are after us. We've got a partnership with the European Tour as well, and continuing to look at doing lots of different things next year and future. I have done in the past where we're fortunate enough to give some of our winners a Challenge Tour invite or a European Tour invite. So it's just really the whole, as Dad calls it, the ladder. You got to keep progressing up, keep playing all the different tournaments, getting used to winning, just being comfortable on the different stages, I suppose. That's probably one of the biggest things that we like to do with bringing in yourselves, for example, bring it back to the series, having media around, and it just tries to elevate the tournaments and just get people comfortable with, I'm now playing in front of a camera. I'm, a lot more people are seeing me just than my playing partners. So that's really where we like to give the opportunities, so that when these kids do go and play college golf or Challenge Tour and things like that, they're ready and prepared, so they can. It's not such a big shock to them, and they can fulfill their promise.
You must feel quite proud, Matthew, having sort of, almost guided a lot of these players. Certainly for Caitlin, because it's just recently happened, as it literally happened a couple of weeks ago. She finished low amateur Open champion, wasn't she? Do you get a sense of pride? You must feel a bit of pride when you see these players going on to have big, successful careers.
Yeah, you definitely do. I think the strange thing is obviously you see them from such a young age, and I know touched on Adrian Morong. Like when I first started, I was the same working for the series. I was the same age as a lot of our sort of under 19, under 21 guys, so 19, 20, 21. And it was very strange for me, one being in a sort of being in charge and, they're just the same age. So, but then over time, yeah, exactly that. As you see them progress and you think, oh, wow, I remember that kid and what they played in and how they played. And yeah, then all of a sudden you see them on Challenge Tour and European Tour and things like that. And yeah, it's like, oh, wow, I've had firsthand experience of seeing these guys and girls like growing up and progressing. So yeah, you definitely proud just to, I mean, obviously we're a small part in their journey, but yeah, it's nice to at least that they are a part of the Faldo series.
Any eagle-eared listeners or watchers watching this might have noticed you might have given your age away a little bit there, Matthew. I won't ask you your age, but you said you joined the series in about 2010, and you were the same age as the guys come through around about the 19, sort of 20 mark. So, okay, 10 years on. All right, yeah. Congratulations. I guess you've fairly recently-ish had a biggish birthday.
It's a couple of years ago now.
There you go. Completely giving it away now. Matthew, look, let's talk grand final this year. Unfortunately, couldn't happen, could it? What's the plans for next year?
Yeah, big plans. Yeah, as I said, unfortunately, we couldn't take the grand final to the Middle East this year, which actually would only been a couple of weeks ago. We looked to try and bring it into the UK, but then just as we were about to announce it, we all went back into various lockdowns, or certainly Wales, where we were looking at going, went into their local lockdown. So that unfortunately didn't happen. But as we've said all along, we will promise the finalists that have qualified to go to a grand final. So next year, I've been in discussions with Gavin at Alain. So we're looking at doing some, basically combining two grand finals into one, and that applies both for Europe and Asia. Asia, unfortunately, has had a really big delay. I mean, that would be a solid 18 months from when the kids were expecting to play a grand final. Obviously, it was March, pushed back to October this year, March next year, and then we're going to have to push it back again to October. So we're this time next year is going to be very busy. But yeah, we're kind of still planning ahead to do a normal season. Really, I think everything that was in place to put on the tournaments, keep social distancing, all those sort of things, worked really well. We utilised our Faldo Series app unbelievably well this year through the scoring. So the kids did the scoring, didn't need scorecards, cross-checked everything on their phones. So there was no cross-contamination of scorecards there. And that helped. That actually helped massively from our logistical standpoint as well, checking scores. So yeah, we're kind of planning as normal from a European and Asian perspective, and then also strange things of 2020. Some really great things are coming out. We're really looking at having a partnership. I can't delve into it too much, but we're looking at 30 plus events in North America next year. So that'll be huge for us. And then our continued talks with European Tour, RNA, of where else we can expand into. Latin America is a big one for me. So yeah, 2020 has actually been a busy year to plan for 2021. So fingers crossed we can get back to some the new normal, as it were.
Where are you with it now, then? Because what are we now? We're a week out from Christmas. When does the process start for next year? Because obviously, one thing that completely just went over my head was that you can only run the events in school holidays, can't you? So does that cause you headaches? Or does that actually make it easier because you know when you can do it?
So the process started a good couple of months ago. and always does sort of October, November time. You really sort of start looking at next year. I mean, sometimes it can be really easy. You pick up the phone to the clubs that we've been going to, and we've got great relationships with, and it's right. What are your dates? And lock it in. Others are a little bit trickier. But sorry, what was your second part of your question? You said.
Well, I was saying, does it actually sometimes, because they're on, they're in holidays, you know when you're going to be, essentially, don't you? So does it actually make scheduling a bit easier? It's kind of, the schools do it for you, don't they, almost?
Yeah, yes and no, really. Yes, it's easy that you have your time period, obviously Easter and July and August, pretty much. The difficulty then becomes trying to fit in tournaments around this. There's so much. So if you take just the UK, for example, there's so many events that go on for all the kids, whether it just be club competitions, county competitions, England golf, England, Scottish, Welsh, Irish golf. You've got to take all of those into consideration. And then obviously there's other, like the McGregor and things like that, McAvoy, all those sort of things. So you kind of just have to dot it around. I mean, we've always wanted to add events, but also the fact that they are 54 holes, so that automatically takes up 4 days. So that's not as easy. We'd normally, despite it being in the summer holidays, we normally go midweek anyway. So yeah, you're trying to squeeze in whatever that would be, 6 events into sort of an 8 or 9 week period with dodging everything else as well. But you find a way, obviously, and the only difficulty is really like clashes. Everybody always says, "Oh, why are you clashing with this? Why are you clashing with that?" But with the amount of tournaments that there are available to the kids, it's inevitable that there will be some, which is annoying, obviously, because you'd love everybody to come and play in your own events. But at the same time, it's great. It's amazing that these kids have such choice in the UK. If you take other countries, some of our developing countries, obviously, that we go into, they don't have as many tournaments. So the scheduling's not as tricky, but at the same time, you still want to make school holidays and the right time of year to make sure that we can fulfill a really strong field. I think one of the big things as well over the last couple of years for us was going to Al Ain as a grand final venue, because that extended our season right through to November. So, for example, I know it's a different time of year, but our South Africa event is September. We're looking at having another one maybe October half term. So that's just giving you 1 or 2 extra weeks where you can potentially squeeze in an event. Whereas normally, previously when we had our grand final, sort of September, October, obviously it just shortens the season. So it's a bit of a puzzle, but you finish it in the end anyway.
I was going to say, for the last sort of 25, 30 years or so, you've been piecing it together pretty well. So my question is, people watching this and they'll have kids and, who show a lot of promise, getting up to the age where they can start to compete. Who can compete in the Faldo series? Is it open to anybody within the age categories, or do they have to have a certain sort of standard of play, I assume?
So we're 12 to 21-year-old boys and girls. So everybody can play. Yes, depending on the age category, as you go up, there are handicap limits in terms of just into entering. But so, I mean, they're obviously a decent standard, but sometimes we have to do a ballot, obviously, that goes in. The cutoff is even lower. I remember some under 18 cutoffs at 2, and whereas our entry limit on under 18 is actually 6. So, it really varies on event to event. But having said that, we're looking at some other bits and pieces actually next year, which will be lower age categories, so under 12, under 10, and under 8. So that's a potential partnership that we're looking at right now. But yeah, we're open to everyone. Obviously, as I said, developing countries, the handicap limits are a little bit higher because maybe the quality of golf is not there. But, you know, that's one of the great things that I've seen in my 10 years. We've been going, as I said, Poland, Slovakia, Czech Republic. We've been going there for 10 years now. And if you compared the scores from year one to what they are now as a whole field on an average, it would be unbelievable, because I remember the scores in those tournaments that you'd have a handful of people, boys and girls, shooting like good scores, and now you like the whole field is really good. So, I mean, it's amazing how those sort of countries have developed.
I can certainly vouch for that, having been to a couple of the events. Mathew, I can't believe it. We're actually, that's time already. How quick does time go? Now, you can also tell this is live, because look what I've just had delivered. No, I'm not being paid by this particular coffee brand at all, but there you go.
Other brands are available.
Other brands are available, yeah. Yes, there's a particular nice place in Ascot, but we won't go into that now. Mathew, thanks so much for your time. Have a lovely Christmas, won't you? Do say hello to everybody for us. I hope you get those Amazon deliveries in time. Otherwise, that could be a little bit awkward for you. We'll catch up in the new year, won't you? Have a lovely time. Try and enjoy it, and we'll see you out on the course next year.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. And yeah, thanks for your help as well this year. I think it's really taken our qualifiers to another level with having you guys running around with your cameras. And yeah, as you said, we're really looking forward to next year, having you guys on board as well. So bigger and better things as usual for the series. And have a good Christmas, everybody.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.